Yeah, or use a proxy. Well, my buddy who was my editor on my last movie, he was out in China, and he said, look, even using proxies, I could barely get on to access anywhere. And he said, YouTube is totally shut down in China, and you see that move in Australia. And, you know, most Australians kind of have this westernized mentality that the government's good and everything's going to be okay, and we're alarmists. But we're not alarmists. We're like, look, we have freedom of speech for a reason. And we have the Second Amendment for a reason. The Second Amendment is for when they take that freedom of speech away. And in a lot of respects, Stewart, I feel like the Internet is the last vestige for the freedom of speech. I mean, do you think the Oath Keepers would be as successful as they have been in the last 12 months without the Internet?
Oh, no, of course not. It's a very powerful tool of communication, and it's free and uncensored. And that's the problem for the elites. They don't like that.
Absolutely. So you told me you were with Sheriff Mack today. What's the schedule like? What have you been doing the last month? What are you going to be doing in the next month?
Well, Sheriff Mack and I both toured Utah together, him focusing on sheriffs and me just focusing on a broader message of outreach to military and police. And also, there's two sides to Oath Keepers. One side is current serving military and police and firefighters, but the other side is the veterans and average citizens and our responsibilities in our community. I always tell people that you have an obligation as a citizen to take full part in your local community, not just voting. Just coming together once in a while to vote is not being a real citizen. You must be in your volunteer fire department, your police auxiliary, your sheriff's auxiliary, start neighborhood watches, etc. Get to know your neighbors, become a stronger community.
Well, I always tell people that they are like, oh, what can I do? I just want to wrap myself into the fetal position and suck my thumb. It's true. They literally are like that. I'm like, well, you have a kid, right? Yeah, I have a 7-year-old. Well, why aren't you on the PTA? Well, that would take 2 days out of my month. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you have to do something. Run for city council. Get out there. Get behind, your congressional candidate you believe in. Go pester your state senator. These things are all around locally. You don't have to be in some metropolis or main hub to do these things. Right. All the small towns out there have local government. And if you don't like something that's being done on the federal or even the state level, it's time for you to step in and say, all right, I'm going to run for mayor of my town. Right. I'm going to run for sheriff. A lot of people don't realize that a sheriff first of all, is an elected position and has a lot of power over his local environment. Explain that to people.
Well, as you pointed out, a sheriff is your elected law enforcement officer in your county and the highest level of peace officer in your county. And it's that way for a reason. He's elected for a reason. He's supposed to be a guardian of the people's rights. But what I always tell people is, look, start at your county first. Don't focus so much on Washington, D.C. Sure, pay attention to what they're doing and oppose it, but most of your effort, the focus of your effort should be on your local county. Make sure your own backyard is swept clean, and then the rest of the country will follow suit. Take care of because we don't know what's going to happen. We might run out of time. Eventually, we can clean things up from the bottom up. But on the way, if you strengthen your local community first, no matter what happens, there's an economic collapse, you'll be in a much better position to survive that economic collapse and be independent and not need the help of FEMA if you have a strong community locally.
And that's a big deal. Because people don't understand the Federal Emergency Management Agency doesn't want to have to show its force. They want you to come to them and beg them for their services. They
don't need them. What are they going to do then?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, then they have to show their force. Then they have to bring in either the National Guard, who may have a problem with what they're doing, the U.S. Army, who should have a problem with what they're doing. They may ship in NATO forces. People don't understand. People from other countries, they're used to different rules. They're not going to have a problem busting into your door and saying, get into the truck. So I don't think they want to show that force. I think that they want to gradually gut this economy so more and more people have to rely on the federal government for assistance, and then eventually, we'll have these FEMA centers instead of just, the social services. Now you'll have a federal arm of this.
Right.
That's where I see this country going, unfortunately, when they're telling the people that there's a 10% unemployment rate, and you can see with your own eyes it's at least double that.
Right.
When they're using new terminology called double dip recession. I mean, when I hear the term double dip recession, I want to bust out into laughter. It's sick laughter, but it's laughter. I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're saying recession. We've been saying recession since 2003. We've seen the economy go down, 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 down. The public, pretty blind until late 2007, early 2008, when it really said, hey, we're going to have to give these guys billions of dollars, even though it's trillions of dollars. And now, again, with up to 20% unemployment, what is this country going to do other than suckle on the teat of federal government? Are we going to get some backbone? Are we going to step up? Are we going to say that we want a Constitution, a Bill of Rights, and How about some non-criminals on the Hill in Washington? We'll be back after this. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas. We got Stewart Rhodes with us. We'll take your calls on the other side. All right, we are back at the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas, and I was just talking to Stewart Rhodes off the air, oathkeepers.org. Oathkeepers.org if you want to join, if you're a military guy, if you like what this man's saying and you want to get more organized, if you want to find more like-minded people, oathkeepers.org. But we were talking about how a lot of what's happened is our own fault. I mean, we've had it too good for too long. And I don't like to say that in the, the population stabilization kind of way, the globalists and the eugenicists that say we've had it too good for too long, we have to crash the economy. I'm saying we've had so much that we've allowed ourselves to be comfortable with the fact that we're no longer involved in our community and our society in general. We're comfortable with other people making decisions for us, with not being able to, live without the help of really the consumer industry. I mean, we were talking about how many people could grow a crisis garden if they had to. How many people, if there was no power, could live for a week or a month in their home. I mean, how many people have these skills now?
Well, very, very few. And as I was saying in the break, our grandparents made it through the Great Depression in large part because they were still close to the land and still know how to grow things. We don't even know what that concept is. You put stuff in the ground and it comes out with food? What is that? I thought food came from the supermarket. So we have abdicated our responsibilities, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. We sit back and wait for professional police to secure us, professional firefighters put out our fires, and professional military to guard our liberty. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the answer of the founders to that age-old question of who shall guard the guardians was that you and I should be our own guardians in our own militia. We've let that atrophy. So we have no one to blame but ourselves for that part of the equation, that side of our own laziness.
And it is laziness, folks. I know a lot of people out there don't want to hear it. Even the people listening right now, I would imagine my audience has got to be at least cut in half this week because it's the Super Bowl. I mean, it is literally the most important day of the year for, I'd say, about 15, 20% of Americans. I mean, and I don't think that's an exaggerated number. What's that, 1 out of 5 out of 6? I couldn't go anywhere this week where I didn't see some kind of Super Bowl special or $10 pies or even people at the convenience store asking, who do you like, Saints or Colts? Is Manning going to do? I'm like, I don't really even care.
I don't even know who's playing.
I only know because I get a lot. Well, first of all, Jones did the Super Bowl bit. I don't have a football team. I don't really like the NFL too much. I'm bad. I watch UFC. I know. I watched UFC last night.
Too. That's my
is that? Yeah, I watched last night. I don't know if you saw it, but that's all I've got. Is basically I watch that and I watch a bunch of the animated shows on television. And then aside from that, I'm just glued to the propaganda over at CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. I'm not going to give any of them a pass because all of them will give you these little pieces and tidbits of truth. But overall, the agenda is the same. Pay your taxes to the bankers. Cybersecurity's here. Go through the body scanners and, just love your gods. I long for a restoration of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Most people say it's going to take a revolution. I'm not of that mindset. I would like to see a peaceful reformation of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. I would like to see people be held accountable for their crimes. I would like to see, when I see a headline of Tim Geithner giving secret emails telling AIG not to say where the money went, be prosecuted. I mean, is that so far into the realm of insanity?
Well, it can be done, but it's going to take time. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that we might run out of time. And so that's why it is absolutely essential that people get themselves squared away, get their own family squared away, make sure they can live independently for a month, 2 months, even up to 6 months or a year. You need food storage. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's almost like if you talk about food storage, somehow you're some kind of crackpot. Well, it used to be that people stored up food in case of a famine. Mm-hmm. And so things can happen. If you're squared away and in a strong community and things go sideways like an economic collapse, but you're able to help each other, you won't need FEMA. They'll have less of an excuse to come in, as you were saying earlier. So take it upon yourself right now. Don't cry and complain and bitch and moan that the government's not doing what you want them to do. You go do it right now. Make sure you and your neighbors are ready to go. Get to know your neighbors, first of all. Throw a big block party. Mm-hmm. Find out who the ex-doctor is, who the ex-cop is. kind of like the Sesame Street thing, these are the people in your neighborhood. Go find out who are the people in your neighborhood, get to know them all, become friends, and then go meet the cops. Make sure you're friends with the police, too. You're all in this together. Their families are right there in your local community, and that brings me to our new program, Family Safe. The whole point of that is Oath Keeper members will volunteer to be the host family for any current serving police officer, military, or firefighter's family that during times of emergency, they don't have to worry about their own family. They can send, like a current serving cop can send his or her family over to the retired cop's house and know they're going to be safe there. And we're also going to set up mutual aid among Oath Keepers. And part of this will be a ham radio network within each state, but also across state lines.
Well, let's talk about that. And then on the other side, I also want to talk about how you feel veterans are being treated on their way back to the United States from Iraq and Afghanistan. We'll be back after this. We're going to take some calls as well. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas, PrisonPlanet.tv, InfoWars.com.